Hello and welcome to another episode of A View from the Top. I'm Adrian Crockley. A View from the Top is a regular podcast from the Centre for Strategic Communication Excellence, where I interview some of the world's leading communication professionals as we explore their career journey. Today, I'm heading to one of my favourite cities in Asia, Singapore, and it's not just because of the great food and shopping, it's because of the great people like Jyoti Khan. Today's guest, who is a certified strategic communication management professional. For over 2 decades, Jyoti has been a constant learner, honing her skills and being an advocate for the art and the science of strategic communication. She's worked in some of the best technology, telcos, IT services, and financial services brands in India, Asia, and around the globe, in both the agency and corporate environments. Let me tell you a little bit about Jyoti before I introduce her. She's passionate about working with leaders to energize and align teams to common purpose, inspire change, and help them build great organization cultures. She's a member of the Communications Council for Forbes and a chair of the Asia Pacific board of the International Association of Business Communicators, which I'm thrilled she is. Jyoti is a co-founder, director, and I love this title, Chief of Everything, of Bricks and Clicks, a strategic communication consultancy that helps businesses lead through change by building communication strategies that inspire action. Jyoti, what an introduction, and it is absolutely fabulous to have you here and be chatting with you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Adrian. It is my pleasure to be here and to be speaking with you. Really an honor. Thank you.
It's been a little while since we caught up. I mean, we're going to actually get to see each other face to face in Bali in a little while, and we're going to talk about that one in a moment. But it's absolutely lovely to connect with you because we've been working in these interesting circles over many years. And I don't want to say how long ago since last time we met face to face, but it's been a while.
It has. And yes, Bali, we are so excited and I'm so glad to see your name on the agenda. So we will be in my role with the IABC Asia Pacific Board. We are working on a conference, a regional communications conference called Fusion 2023. It is going to be held in Bali, September 4th and 5th. The whole board's working on it and we've got great support from leaders like yourself. So what's unique about this conference is that it is an event from the communication professionals in the region for the communication professionals in the region. So we know the challenges we work with. We know what inspire us. We know the opportunities and the limitations that we work with working in a diverse market like the Asia Pacific. And we thought it is a great opportunity after the pandemic to get our members together and non-members as well, and bring them together in a group where they can network, learn from each other, learn from those who've done this before, and really go back inspired and energized, like I always feel after conversations like this. So yeah, that's it.
I'm so pleased. You know, when Bali's on the list, it's not hard to go, I really want to be there. It is actually a great place to gather. And working on that theme of diversity, I think, is really important too. And I was really thrilled when I saw what the theme of the conference was about working across diverse cultures, because that's a lot of what we're dealing with today in our work. I mean, we've talked about globalization for many years, but really, are we still doing the surface level stuff, or are we really digging a little bit deeper around diverse cultures and how we work with those cultures within our organizations? So Bali, gosh, I can't wait for the first cocktail by the pool. Maybe that's just the day before the conference, right?
It absolutely would be. And, just a little trivia on why we chose Bali. We actually went to our members around like this time last year. We did a survey and we said, we want to do a conference. Where would you want to go? And guess what? Bali. I'm like, okay, you say, and we do it. So so Bali is purely by demand. And of course, who doesn't want to go there?
Absolutely. And I highly recommend it to communication professionals. The network experience and the learning is going to be absolutely fabulous. You're meeting communication professionals from right around, not just the region, but the world. And I think that's really important because that's where our learnings are. So it is great to be back face-to-face. I'm really glad the first face-to-face regional conference since COVID is in a place like Bali. And it's obviously the place of inspiration at the moment, because at the center, we're doing our retreat at the end of October in Bali as well. So it was obviously on everybody's mind to do something around Bali, and why not? So tell me a little bit, and I'm going to explore your career now, Jyoti, before we talk about what you're doing currently with Bricks and Clicks. So we'll cover that a little bit later. But where did everything start for you? Where did your career start? Is the communication field something you always wanted to be part? What led you into doing that?
That's a great question, and one that I often think about, in hindsight. Things just add up. So I was in university studying business management, and I thought HR was my calling. So every opportunity I got, I went into organizations, did all my internships and projects in HR, and I thought that was my calling. I finished my university and I was visiting a friend who worked at Ogilvy PR, and I just found myself in that office. This was New Delhi. And I don't know, something in me said that, I've got time, and why don't I do internship with them? That could not be far from HR, but I was just inspired by David Ogilvy and what I heard from my friend. I was young and I was like, okay, let me give it a try. What's there to lose? That happened like just before 2000. And then I found myself staying on with communication as a career. So I spent my first few years working with various PR agency, Ogilvy, Weber Shandwick, Text 100, working on the best known technology brands in the world very, very early on. I was so fortunate to work with great brands, great teams, great leaders, mentors. And everything just fit so well. And I was just learning the basics of PR communication while there. And that's where it all started, purely from external communications.
The agency world was your grounding, which is actually, when you think about it, is a really good grounding to get that agency exposure, because you get the broad range of clients and the broad range of skills that you develop early in the piece. Where did you go to from the agency world? Because I know you've had corporate experience as well. So
yeah.
You've got that grounding in agency. Did you stay with an agency, or did you move into different organizations?
So having moved to Singapore to work with an agency, I found myself interviewing with a global Indian telco, Tata's, for an internal communications role. A headhunter thought I would be a great fit, coming from where I was coming from, and they were looking for their first internal comms person in Asia, in Singapore. I went for the interview, and I was very naive to say that, I know communication, I know messaging, I know how audience thinks, I know how to use words to, shape opinions and perceptions. So I think I can do this role. And I'm shocked I was hired for say.
And just to give people context, Jyoti, sorry, just to give people context, Tata is one of the world's biggest organizations, right? You are so brave just stepping and going, yeah, I know communications, I'm going to do this. I admire you, Jyoti.
I know, but I must say, I think there was something about work ethics or cultural fit that they thought was right for the role. And I am so pleased that I went in for that interview, that I did make the cut, and I ended up being the first internal comms person working in Tata Communications, which was a up and coming brand in telecommunication under the group at that point. What also worked was that again, very early on in my career, I got to work with the C-suite right away. So I was coming from an agency world. I was brand new to internal comms, and I was unveiling this with the organization, working right alongside the C-suite, because they were looking at integrating the businesses they had acquired. And I was right in the middle of all of that, learning, and it could have been the best opportunity for anyone to take on. And I was right there at the right time with the right people. And that's how it all started for me in internal comms.
That is brilliant. Did you get that sense you'd found home in internal comms when you started doing that?
I think that in the first week, it blew my mind. Yeah. And, I was reporting into the HR function. Back then, it wasn't corp comms in that organization, working so closely with comms and with the C-suite. And it was absolutely eye-opening, and I knew that's where I found home. I knew this is what I want to be doing for the rest of my professional life, because there's so much to learn and there's so much to grow within the field. And this is, almost sort of 18 years in, and I'm as excited as I was on day one in that business. So
I have to say, I much the same. When you think back at those early days, and you and I were having a little bit of a chat around, there is a little bit more of a connection between us two from early in your career. Was it at Tata when you did the Black Belt internal communication program?
I did. So I was Adrian, I was so new to this field, and I was hungry to learn. I wanted to do the best job I could as the single internal comms professional in the business that needed all this work. So I was taking every opportunity to learn. I wanted to own my own learning agenda, and I wanted to make a difference. So I was looking out for every possible opportunity. That's when I came across your profile. And I remember that course now. I've got that, those notes right here in my study 12 years in, and it was absolutely outstanding. The course, the depth, the breadth, the networking, the engagement was just spot on for me at that time. But surprisingly, even to date, for anyone who was probably doing a course like that today, I think it was just perfect. So I took that opportunity and every other. So when I remember being on the student side with you being the faculty in that course, and I came back so inspired and energized from that program.
I have many happy memories of running that course. I mean, we ran Black Belt for 10 years from Melcrum before Black Belt. Before Melcrum was bought out as an organization, and Black Belt moved to CEB and then Gardner. And I remember that, talking to you before and reflecting that Black Belt was still within my blood, because when the center was formed and Sia and I got together, we looked at developing that program for communication professionals. And much of that core, the foundation stuff, rings so true today as it did when you were doing the program. Now it's strategic communication management, but it's very much looking at that principles of good foundation and good strategic development of communication professionals, and where we can lead in organizations. And I'm just so glad that you were part of that. But you've taken that and you've built that into your career ongoing. So you've now worked, a massive opportunity with Tata. Where did you go to post Tata? There was a time you spent a significant amount of time with. Where did you go to from that?
Yep. So I worked with Tata for about 6 years. I went and joined the Canadian Bank, the Royal Bank of Canada. And I was, again, the first internal comms person they had in the region. Absolutely loved working there. What was most interesting, Adrian, and this goes back to the principles of pure communication, good communication. And you always go back to the basics of message and leaders and importance of knowing your audience. And that doesn't change. So I joined this bank, which is an investment bank. And just because of the nature of the business, you don't have access to the latest technology. You've got restrictions because you're dealing with sensitive client data. So you had to go back to pure internal comms, working with investment bankers. It was the most amazing experience I had, because RBC was an amazing organization with a very established communication function globally. But taking all of that, bringing it here in Asia and doing it for them with focusing on the basics, it was such an eye-opening experience for me. Yeah. Also, I think a validation that the channels or the mediums change, but at the core, the basics of communication, of authenticity and importance of true leadership and the power of the word and listening to your audience and really bringing them along the journey of change, that doesn't change. That's so important. That stays true. It was, and it is, and I think it will be going forward.
Yeah. The experiences you got from doing that, I mean, shifting from an organization like Tata into banking, and you've already done the agency world, did you feel like you were filling your bag of life skills as you were moving forward? Had you already had in your blood that at some stage you're going to develop your own organization?
No, it was much later. So yeah, I spent a few more years in corporate world, and I think it was just at the start of the pandemic, or a little before that, it started to feel like, got to do something different, got to take some chances, got to sort of take your head off setting something of your own. That's how we sort of ended up with our consultancy, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah. And so where to from there after that work with the bank and getting those experiences? What did you do from that point?
So I worked with Ericsson briefly, and then
there was that other connection, Jyoti.
I know, and so you and I
that
know
organization.
Exactly, and I was just telling you that, Adrian, you have been a common red thread across my career without knowing, I think. So I've
you had a stalker without even knowing it, Jyoti.
Can you imagine? Oh my God, you've just found out. I think probably every role I've come across, either, sort of learning engagement with you, or came across your name or read through something. So Ericsson, yes, we both worked with Ericsson at different points in time. We did have a Malcolm training at Ericsson as well. So yeah, so you have been a constant pretty much through my career. Thank you for that.
Always a pleasure, Jyoti, without even knowing it.
Without knowing it. Yeah, so went on to work with Ericsson, and Tata has called me back. And this time I was really well connected with the leadership team. And, we were in a conversation that's like, you know what, come back and, just it's been a while and you're learning, you've got your experience, your little sabbatical is over. Please come back and take on the role. So I went back for my second inning at Tata Communications as the head of internal comms globally, kind of taking on what I had built in my first stint and elevating it. This time with the team, this time working as part of the corporate communications functions, working alongside my peers who were heading PR and brand. It was a second inning, and I'm so glad that I had all of that learning and experience and the grounding that I got from all the other outside Tata world, the work that I did. And I went back and I had an amazing second inning of 5 years learning and doing and being more audacious and trying so many new things, which all worked beautifully.
Tata was a very clever company. They obviously knew that you'd moved on, you'd got that additional experience, then bring you back. They knew they were onto a good thing and they missed you terribly. Well, we're going to say is a given. The fact that they knew to bring somebody back like yourself that has got that experience and be able to apply it at such a senior role within the organization too, and a senior role in a big organization like Tata. What a great opportunity that was.
It was, Adrian, and I cannot thank the business enough and the leaders I worked with. I mean, it was a dream to work with people who believed in the power of communications. You don't have to tell them the basics, but you really have to synergize the understanding and knowledge you have with the passion they have for the success of the business, bring that together, and you create some real magic. And I was so fortunate to have that opportunity, not once, but 2 times over at very different stage of my career, but also a very different stage of the way the organization evolved. And I was very lucky.
No, it's wonderful to hear that experience. From that experience you got with Tata, it would have been tough to go, what's the next decision? What's the next course I need to take? What was that next step for you?
I think by the time it was 2020, just at the start of the pandemic, and my peer at Tata, we both were heading internal comms, and my colleague and very dear friend, Natalie, she's based in the UK, and she was heading external communication. And we both got talking. We were at similar life stages, done 2 decades of work, and it felt like, what's next for us? Like we could carry on doing, we were so comfortable, carry on doing what we're doing and continue to grow, hopefully, if the business would stay have us, or go join other businesses and do that, or do something totally different, take a chance. What was something that we were most scared of, to kind of let go of corporate career, take all of the learnings we've had, and go set up something of our own and try it. And it felt like if we don't do it now, we would never do it. It felt like a scary thing to do, totally out of our comfort zone. But felt like, you know what, we can. And it was great that we were thinking of doing this at the same time and decided to do it together. And it was the best decision after joining Tata. I think it was the best decision that I took, and 3 years on, I have absolutely no regrets.
It is really hard when you get to that. And I call them the pinnacle job, when you're head of comms function. And it really, because it's happened exactly the same for me when I was the head of comms function. I go, kind of, where do I go to next? You can kind of take the side step into another organization. You can go, right, let me take another greenfields approach and go into a new organization that's building a function. But it's those times you kind of reflect on what you've done and then what you want to do next. So you would have learned an awful lot of lessons that have gone into that wonderful kit bag of skills I talked about before to go, we're going to take the brave new step and go into business. I want to explore what Bricks and Clicks is all about. But you're an advocate for lifelong learning. And I can see this really clearly through your profile talking to you. What do you think is some of the important things communication professionals need to do to continually develop in their careers?
We need to stay hungry for learning in the first instance. I don't think you ever know everything. And I don't think you've ever kind of know it all, especially when it comes to a profession like ours, because it's changing every day. Very often, the leaders and the businesses we work with, they look to us for insights, for the conscience of the business, for the pulse of the organization, for what's best to do. For that, we need to be at the top of our game, and therefore learning is so important. But I won't stop at just learning about communication. I would say just be hungry. I call it infinite learning, like just this constant, it's an insatiable desire to just consume knowledge. Be it about business, about behavioral science, about HR, about the kind of stakeholders we work with, just why people do what they do, why they behave in a certain way. There is so much out there, depending on your own appetite and specific area of interest. There is so much to learn. But what is not negotiable, I think, is knowing business. So if you are a business communication professional working with either clients or leaders, you need to be a business leader first and a communication leader second. So therefore, know the business, know what keeps the leaders up at night, know the industry that you're working with, know the language. And I think that keeps to going. So my first and foremost advice for anyone who's in, whether a leader or a beginner in the profession, is to stay hungry and look out, seek those learning opportunities, define your own learning path, take that ownership. Don't wait for your managers or someone else or your leader to tell you, go out and find this thing, take that initiative, own that agenda and learn. And I think that's one of the first things. And I think one of the things that kept me going and helped me grow. Second, I think is most important is to network, to kind of find your tribe, find people outside within the business if you can, but whether they are comms leaders, you can know people without actually knowing them. Like I have followed Adrian in these 20 years as a leader, as a fellow professional within the region, but so many different people. Find your tribe, find that connection. So I found that in IABC, for instance, when I joined as a member and now as a volunteer leader, there is so much that you learn by conversation. So connect with people. As internal comms professionals, we are very, very forthcoming in sharing challenges, in sharing our knowledge with people and with peers. So please go find those connections, whether in internal comms or business more generally. Find those connections, find your tribe, work with people who you can just sort of connect with, sound off ideas, have sounding board. And I think that's really important as well. So knowledge and connection. And third is stick to the basics, right? You can be overwhelmed by AI, the next big tool, the next big technology, the next big product, where all of that is well and good. And it's good to know. But in my opinion, the basics of communications are really simple and they are not going to change. So you would still need, it's people talking to people very often. You can take machines and use them as channel, but people talking to people, and therefore authenticity and message, the power of your words and just the pure leadership is so important. So that is never going to go out of fashion. So stick to the basics as well.
3 really good pieces of advice, Jyoti, and I love the fact that you taken those lessons from all the experiences that you've had and be able to give that advice and share that experience. I know you and I are going to connect in a future podcast where we'll dive into some of those skills. And those skills are actually very relevant to the work that you're doing now with Bricks and Clicks. So I really want to explore why you position the business that you have today, your agency, and what will it be focusing on, or what is it focusing on within our profession? Because there's a couple of skill areas here that are close to my heart as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bricks and Clicks, when Natalie and I, my business partner and I, when we were thinking of the kind of business we wanted to create and what would be our niche and what are we most passionate about, we were passionate about communication that inspires change, that actually leads to actions and not just words for the sake of it. And we thought good communication is as relevant to traditional organizations as it is to the next sort of SaaS or the startup that's coming up. So it's sort of timeless. It goes across boundaries around the world. So that's kind of was the essence of Bricks and Clicks. But we looked at everything that we had done and we took out the pieces that we thought we were very good at, that we were most passionate about, that we thought we can make a difference in. So whether it was narrative or messaging, whether it was helping businesses differentiate themselves, whether it was helping businesses align themselves to a new strategy or driving change. I mean, we both have done a ton of work in change communication and working with leaders to drive change. And therefore, at the essence, we are all about driving change that inspires action and how effective communication can do that. That's what, in the essence, Bricks and Clicks is about. So in 3 years of our existence, we've been working with sort of essentially 2 or 3 segments of the business world. So there's large enterprises where we come from, both of us, and we could work with them on change projects, right? When they've got a change transformation program going on, which a lot of businesses are, they've got great teams that are managing the change, but very often they miss out on a big part of change communication, which is different than managing change or, doing the basics, working with a change manager. So change communication is one part of the puzzle, which we absolutely love and we're working on. The second is mid-sized businesses where we essentially are the team that they don't have. So mid-sized businesses that are scaling businesses, that are looking for a communications team that can help them get their story right, that can help them get the basics right of the message, the calendar, the thinking, the clarity, equipping their leaders, helping them tell their story to all stakeholders, starting to think of an employer brand. So we took all of these things, and many mid-sized businesses with fantastic business models essentially have lean teams, and they don't really have the luxury of having big communications teams, someone who would do external, internal, all of that, but they need it and they need it now. So we're working with mid-sized businesses that are scaling. They are from technology world and they are growing, and help them sharpen their story, craft their story in many cases, and help them take it to all stakeholders, including internal, including aligning their leadership. And that's very exciting. So it's a tool for us. For our clients, what they see is what they get. That's us. So we do the strategy, we do the delivery. And it's absolutely amazing.
And I think it's perfect that, without skipping over that statement of what they see is what they get. And that's what it is about running what I call a genuine business. And, Jyoti, you're such a genuine person. The fact that you're working with leadership and you're working in that area of change, to me, you're the most perfect person to be doing. And I'm sure Natalie is much of the same. So thank you for joining me today, sharing your experiences. As I said, we're going to catch up again on another podcast, and we're going to delve into some of those skills that are required, because leadership and change, they go hand in glove, where we need to develop those skills in change communication and leadership, and how we take employees on that journey is just so very important. So thanks for the work that you're doing. Thanks for your volunteer work that you're doing too, Jyoti, and enjoy Bali and the conference.
I will, and I can't wait to see you. I know we will speak before or after, but I am so looking forward to being an audience in your session, Adrian. And I absolutely it's a pleasure to be here, to be speaking with you. But I absolutely love the work that you do at CSCE along with here. And I think the content, the thinking, the tools that you equip communication professionals and leaders with is outstanding. So well done. So much to learn.
It is that community, isn't it? I mean, I've always said the internal comms community is so giving. And like you, I'm very happy to be part of that community. And I know you are. And we'll keep growing this community and growing our skills together. So thank you again, Jyoti. And I look forward to connecting very shortly again. Yeah. That's it for today's podcast. It's so quick how we run out of time. Thank you again for everybody joining us. Thanks to Jyoti, and thanks for everybody's work within the communication profession. Look forward to connecting with you next time in A View from the Top.